Hey guys, it's Betty from BakerBettie.com and welcome back to another video. Now today we are learning how to make classic glazed yeast donuts, and these are the kind of donuts that you would find in a Krispy Kreme because they're those really fluffy fried donuts that are covered in that really thin sweet glaze. Now this does mean we are going to be working with yeast today, but I'm going to walk you through it step by step. So let's go ahead and dive into the recipe. Okay, so we're going to start by heating up 1 cup of milk, and you want it to be somewhere between 110 and 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if you don't have a thermometer to check the temperature of the milk, this is going to feel warm but not hot. Now, once our milk is warmed up, we are going to stir in 1 package of dry yeast, and this can be active dry yeast or instant yeast. I'm going to use instant yeast today, and that's just going to get our dough moving a little quicker. Now you want to let this sit for about 5 minutes until it gets all bubbly, and this is called proofing your yeast. And this is just going to wake it up and give it a little jump start before we add it into our dough. So while our yeast is proofing, we can go ahead and get started with our other ingredients. Now in a large mixing bowl, I am mixing together 1/3 cup of melted butter that is slightly cooled, along with 1/3 cup of granulated sugar. Next, I'm going to stir in 2 eggs until those are well combined, as well as 1 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. Now at this point, our yeast is proofed, and we can go ahead and stir the milk yeast mixture into our other ingredients. Next, we are going to stir in 4 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour until that is well combined. Now at this point, your dough is likely going to be very sticky, but that is okay. It is going to change as we need it and will become more manageable. Now you can knead this dough with a dough hook in your stand mixer, but I want to show you that you can make these donuts without a lot of specialty equipment, so we are actually going to knead the dough by hand. I have lightly floured my work surface here and transferred my dough onto the counter, and now I'm also lightly flouring the top of the dough as well as my hands. To knead the dough by hand, fold it in half and then use the heels of your hands to push it away from you. Now give the dough a 90-degree turn and repeat the folding and pushing motion. Just continue this process over and over again, and the dough will start becoming more smooth and elastic as we develop the gluten structure. You can add a little more flour as needed throughout this process, but the dough should become less and less sticky naturally as it is kneaded. So try to be patient and avoid adding a ton of extra flour. We're going to knead this dough for about 5 to 7 minutes. You can tell when you are done kneading the dough when it is smooth and elastic, and it's going to feel slightly sticky and will stand up tall on its own when you round it into a ball. And if you press down into it, it's going to spring back up, which means that our gluten is developed. Now go ahead and place it back in the mixing bowl, and we are going to cover it and allow it to ferment at room temperature until it is double in size. This should take about 45 minutes if you used rapid rise yeast and 75 minutes if you used active dry yeast. Now that our dough has doubled in size, we are going to roll it out and cut out our donuts. So lightly flour your work surface and transfer the dough onto it. You can also lightly flour the top of the dough and then roll it out to about a 1/2 inch thick. And then I'm going to use my donut cutter to stamp out the donuts. But if you don't have a donut cutter, I will show you another option. One of the most important things when cutting out your donuts is that you don't want to twist your cutter. So you can see here that I am moving the cutter back and forth slightly so that I can cut all the way through the dough, but I am not twisting the cutter. Twisting the cutter can actually seal the edges and it will prevent the donuts from rising as high. Now, if you don't have a donut cutter, you can use a really sturdy glass to cut them out. Now you can leave them without a hole in the middle and fry them like this, which makes them perfect for piping a filling in the middle, or you can use something like a shot glass to cut out the holes in the center. After you get all of your donuts cut out, place them on a parchment-lined baking sheet and cover them to let them proof. The donut holes will need about 20 minutes and the donuts will need about 45 minutes. While these are proofing, we can set up our fry station. I am using a large skillet that has high sides, but you could also use a Dutch oven or even a cast iron skillet. You just need to be able to pour about 2 inches of cooking oil in whatever pan you choose. Now you do want to use a neutral flavored oil that has a high smoke point. I am using peanut oil, but you could also use vegetable oil or canola oil. You do also want to set up a fry thermometer on your pan so that you can monitor the temperature of the oil. Now turn the heat onto medium and allow the oil to come up to about 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You also want to set up a cooling rack on top of a sheet pan to drain the donuts on. And you're going to need a spatula and a pair of tongs or chopsticks for flipping the donuts. Once your oil is up to temp, you can start by frying the donut holes. I like to place a few of them on my spatula and gently lower them into the oil. Move them around in the oil so that they fry evenly. They will take about 1 minute to get golden brown. Now we can go ahead and move on to frying the donuts. Gently transfer one onto a spatula and carefully lower it into the hot oil. I'm able to fry about 3 donuts in my pan at one time, and you don't want to overcrowd the oil. Let the donuts fry on one side for about 1 minute, and then you can use tongs or chopsticks to gently flip them over and fry on the other side until they are golden brown. If you are using tongs, be really careful not to squeeze the donuts too much when you're flipping them, or you might deflate them. Keep an eye on the heat and adjust the burner up or down if the oil is getting too hot or cold. Transfer the donuts onto the cooling rack to drain and cool. Now to make the glaze, we are going to sift 3½ cups of powdered sugar into a mixing bowl. And we're going to add to that 6 tablespoons of milk, as well as a ½ tablespoon of vanilla extract. And just give all of that a good whisk together. Now you do want to warm the glaze up by heating it in the microwave. So we're going to microwave the mixture for about 30 seconds, and then give it a good whisk, and then heat it up for about 30 more seconds. And then you do want to immediately use it. Glaze the donuts by dunking them in the glaze and then turning to coat them. I like to use a butter knife to flip the donuts and then to swirl them around in the glaze so that I make sure they are coated completely. Now transfer the donuts back to the cooling rack to allow the glaze to set for a few minutes before serving. Now, if you're somebody who really loves a chocolate donut, you can also dunk these in a thin ganache glaze, and I'm going to leave the link for that recipe in the description box. Look at how beautiful these turned out. They are so nice and golden brown, and they have that sweet glaze all over them. And now I cannot wait to taste one. I have glaze all over my lips. These taste so much like something you would buy in a really good donut shop. They're really light and fluffy and just a little bit chewy, and they have all of that sweet glaze on the outside. They are so good. I cannot wait for you guys to try these. Now, I really hope you all enjoyed this recipe tutorial, and if you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I'm always happy to answer any of your questions, so you can leave those down in the comment section. And if you aren't already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscription button and ring the notification bell so you never miss a video. You can follow me at Baker Bettie on Instagram and on Facebook, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.